this story continues to get more and more amazing. First off, it was the prosecutor there in Wisconsin who was going after just grassroots individuals who were helping Governor Walker and helping Lieutenant Governor Kleefisch, and now this has gone way beyond the state. Give us some insight on this.
Well, absolutely. The Wall Street Journal has obtained information that individuals involved in these John Doe investigations, these secret investigations of conservatives in Wisconsin, simply because they were engaged in conservative speech, were also looking at any search terms in documents involving people like Jeb Bush. They were looking at information from national conservative organizations. In addition to what the Wall Street Journal has uncovered, I've seen some of the search warrants that were under seal in this case. And those search warrants empowered police officers to go into homes and to search and to look for information about national conservative organizations and communications with national conservative organizations. So this was an effort, I believe, to use Wisconsin and law enforcement in Wisconsin, not just to suppress conservative speech and to punish conservatives in Wisconsin, but also use it as leverage to try to investigate the entire broader conservative movement in the United States.
That's horrifying. it's weaponizing government to further go after those who simply dissent. And the thing that I just have to I throw my hands up in disgust at is that really, there has been no justice for these individuals who have been targeted for years. This was several years that they endured this in Wisconsin, and they've not received any justice.
No, not at all. In fact, the prosecutor is trying to keep the investigation going. He's asked for a rehearing before the Wisconsin Supreme Court, after the Wisconsin Supreme Court shut it all down by saying that the prosecutors were investigating crimes that weren't really even crimes at all. So they're still in a state of limbo. Fortunately, the Wisconsin legislature has passed, and Governor Walker signed John Doe reform to cut off any other future investigations like this. But for the victims of these raids, they're still living that reality, and they've had no accountability. There's been no accountability, and they're filing lawsuits. There's at least a couple of lawsuits right now, but no justice yet.
Wow. And their names have been ruined. A lot of these individuals, when you and I spoke last about this, there were families that, with children, they would have their homes raided in the middle of the night. They would tip off the media. They would have local media there. They would see these grassroots conservatives who had been working on behalf of issues supported by Governor Walker or working to support Governor Walker. Their names were dragged through the mud, and they were gagged from saying anything, even defending themselves about this.
Well, that's exactly right. You would have these very public raids where police swarm someone's house in a neighborhood. So, just imagine what the neighbors think. Then there are leaks to Milwaukee newspapers, Madison newspapers about the raids. And yet the entire time, the targets of the raids, who are being targeted only because of their conservative speech and because of their conservative advocacy, they are, in activism, they're bound by a gag order. They can't talk. They can't say what's going on. So the cloud of suspicion descended upon them. It is still on them. If you read the liberal media still treats them as if they were criminals, when really what they were was concerned citizens doing what people on the left do all the time, trying to put their issues in front of the public.
Now, as far as the spreadsheet with these names that included, of course, Paul Ryan, Jeb Bush, even Newt Gingrich, Reince Priebus, Sean Hannity, and they were, of course, looking for words like Tea Party and Patriot. What were they just? How did these names, these national names, fit into this? Because obviously, this goes well beyond the scope of Wisconsin.
Well, the battle over Act 10 in Wisconsin, the reform of public sector unions in Wisconsin became a national battle. Mm-hmm. And there were people left and right who were pouring money and energy into the Wisconsin battle. And so they were looking at everyone that they thought that was involved in the Wisconsin issues nationally. And so what they did is they gathered thousands and thousands and thousands of documents, not just through these search warrants, but also through these subpoenaing all of the communications, personal and professional, of these raid targets. They poured them into a database and then used the database with these search terms. And they searched far and wide for links to outside conservative groups. They searched far and wide to determine how conservative advocacy worked. It was incredibly intrusive.